What is happening to the youth today? Who is looking after them? Who is preparing them to be Christian adults? And what role does Brooklyn Youth Minister Kenny Wodzanowski play? Let's find out.
Youth are disappearing from church as their parents did and continue. So there's almost like a hole in the church that all these young people are falling through. And of course, if literally there was a hole in the church, we would find the money and fix the hole, right? But for some reason, money becomes the issue. I really do think money is one of the main issues why youth ministry is not offered, because people don't recognize the significance of it, of needing to invest. Our youth center that now averages 50 to 60 kids a week started its first year, never had more than 6 kids, never, a whole year. In fact, there were weeks where there were 2 to 4 kids with, say, 2 or 3 adults playing a board game, and that's all it was. Now, those 4 kids were happy. They enjoyed it, even though we'd go, how come you don't bring friends? Why don't you invite someone? But for a year, that's all it was. And of course, after that first year, we could have said, this ain't working. It's not worth our time, right? I'll tell you, those 4 to 6 kids, probably 5 of them are still involved in our ministry today. And of course, now there's many more. So that investment of those kids when they were in 7th, 8th grade, and now they're in college, tremendous, well worth it. We have great kids that were loved and given a place and said, you're important enough, even though, yes, we wish there were 40 more of you.
Can you feel the energy? You cannot put words to what the experience is like. This, believe it or not, will be my 5th World Youth Day. It's my 20th anniversary because 20 years ago in 1993, I went to Denver, Colorado as a younger person. Obviously my life has been set on a wonderful course since then. So please pray for these pilgrims. We will pray for you. None of them would be going without your generosity. We've fundraised over $100,000 in 5 parishes. I'm grateful. I know they're grateful. This was the theme song. This is the theme song of World Youth Day. Go make disciples of all nations from the Gospel of Matthew. Every day, these pilgrims will have a catechesis session. You know, we're blessed to have great preachers like Father Ron and Monsignor Casado, but guess who's going to preach to them? Cardinal Dolan. Yeah, Cardinal Dolan. Bishop Caggiano, and many other bishops and cardinals from around the world.
In the square here, we're waiting for the arrival of the Pope. We found out an hour ago that he was coming here. We decided to make a detour to the vigil site because we now have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Pope's going to get out of his Popemobile here. Who knows? Will he come over? Will he touch someone? Will he take one of our coins from Brooklyn? Or will he at least look us in the eye and bless us? Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're excited. We got maybe 2 hours to go, an hour to go. We're just waiting. Brooklyn's all here. Brazilians, we're all one family in the church. Amen?
One of the greatest blessings of my ministry has been the trips, the retreats, the service programs, the places I've been personally and the places that I get to take young people to. I don't know if there's any other job next to maybe President or Pope himself. So I mean, this past year, we went to Brazil for World Youth Day. We've been to Madrid, Spain for World Youth Day, Cologne, Germany for World Youth Day, Toronto, Canada, World Youth Day. And those places, besides just the journeys of places I've never been to before, probably never go to otherwise, to They're just tremendous experiences of the larger church that these young people have, to meet people from all over the world, to have these tremendous movements of the Spirit where you can feel it, you can taste it. It's hard for anyone to go on these pilgrimages and not feel it. I've had the chance to go to, Santiago de Compostela. I haven't done the Camino, but we had a chance to go to the burial place of, hit me in the head, I gotta think of St. James, which was amazing. So I prayed in a place, as did young people, prayed in the one place that every major religious figure of the last 1,500 years prayed. So I got to pray where St. Anthony of Padua prayed, Padre Pio, every pope. I kneeled in the same place because there's only one place you could pray, in front of the tomb of St. James. Tonight, you're going to be challenged to look at pictures that normally either A, you sneak to look at, or you look at and you see one thing. Tonight, we're going to challenge you, Uno, Liana, and MJ are going to challenge you to look at things differently, because the only way for you to learn what modesty is, you're going to also have to look at what you normally see as being normal. You might say, well, what's wrong with that? So what if she's showing that? So what if his pants are hanging down? What's wrong with that? So this little exercise is going to tie in. I'm not only working for a church, I'm working for a cluster of churches. So I'm working for a handful of parishes that are trying to work together to offer more. In this case, less is more, because there's one of me, but I'm able to hopefully tap into more people, tap into more energy, more programming, more resources to hopefully attract a greater amount of young people, because we're able to offer what's called comprehensive youth ministry. Well, in our entire youth ministry, last year, we serviced over 400 different kids. So 400 different kids came to our different ministry programs. We have a youth center that averages, say, 50 to 60 kids every single Tuesday night. In a given year, last year, over 150 different kids came to that one particular program.
Before I came to World Youth Day, I wanted to know if I could really test my faith, if I was really all about God, if I was serious about my faith, and I needed to know. And when I was watching people do it, I was a little nervous, like, oh wow, that's crazy, I don't think I could ever do that. But something in me, just being here back in Panama, I was just like, I have to do this, I need to know. And by doing that, I really got to know that I'm serious about my faith, and it's not a joke. And it's not something I'm just doing just to do it. I'm doing it because I love God and I believe in Him.
So growing up, I will say definitely my parents were a tremendous role model in faith. We went to church every single Sunday. As long as I can remember as a family, even though my parents did get involved in the church, so they were catechists and lectors, and at times we had to go on our own, but it was always the expectation, and you went. Did I always get it? Did it always make sense? No. Was I bored at times, like I hear from kids? Yeah. But always it was encouraged. We always prayed before every meal. I can remember from the age of pre-K going to a nursing home with my mother and doing my first service experience and sort of helping to push some old ladies and old men to bingo, because she helped there, and she also went to a local nursing home where they brought elderly people to church, and I would help out, and sort of I was exposed to a lot. Did I understand it? Not necessarily, but the seeds were planted. I went to public grade school, which in and of itself actually was a great spiritual teaching, because I also grew up in the early 70s where there was a lot of racial divide, and I stayed in the public schools instead of doing the white flight to the Catholic schools, and actually probably became some great teachings there. I didn't get it then, but looking back, I did go to Catholic high school, and I was educated by the Marist brothers, and I was encouraged to practice my faith, and I was encouraged to go on retreats by my family. And likewise, I had a brother, my oldest brother, who joined the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, became a great sort of inspiration, even though he wanted moving to the West Coast. And still today has been a great spiritual partner on the journey of life. He's been working for the church his whole life also. And really it was a first retreat in my junior year of high school that I made that sort of made me realize how real God is, and sort of also turned me on to different relationships of people, and sort of took me out of my shell of being very secular and being more comfortable in praying and exploring my spirituality. And then I continued into college, where I was influenced by the Dominicans who ran the campus ministry program at Rutgers University, where likewise, they were probably one of the first people that said, hey, you know, you could be a leader in the church as a young person. You could help out, you know, animating and being a witness to your peers. And that's sort of where it began. And this whole time, my parents have, you know, continued to, you know, run pre-Cana programs in church. They still today, my father, a couple months away from 80, is still lecturing at church. They still volunteer at the same nursing home. So they've always been a solid witness, even through my adult life, of practicing the faith, how important prayer is. So I've been blessed. I mean, I know not everyone has that. And that definitely has been a big foundation to where I am today.
So no, I just got off the phone with my mom, and calling her and, you know, talking to her and hearing her voice just made me realize how much I miss her, and especially being on this trip just made me realize even more and more how much I care about her and I miss her, and how much I respect her. Because when I was home before I even started this trip, I was terrible with my mom. I would tell her every day how much I hate her, how much I can't stand her. And now hearing her voice and listening to her makes me realize how much I respect her and how much I want to care for her more when I get back home.
The funny thing is, the other day I was reflecting, anything I've ever done in life, I feel God has led me there. It wasn't like a stepping stone. It wasn't like, what's next, where this is going. When I graduated college, I considered going into business, but I also had great experiences with the Marist brothers, and I chose to go into study to become a brother. Didn't know what it meant, didn't know if I'd do it, but I said, you know what, I feel something there. I did that for 3 years, and it was a wonderful experience, and I would encourage anyone, go look at religious life, go into a seminary, go into a convent, because those were the seeds. Now I left because I felt I couldn't make that commitment at the time. At that time, I couldn't make a commitment even to a girlfriend. That was just where I was at. But it was those steps that then got me then as a layperson, you know, no longer studying to be a brother, to work in the church and realize I could do this and do it effectively and enjoy it. And it was ministry. It wasn't just work. It wasn't like a paycheck. It wasn't like, oh, I'm struggling financially. Maybe I should do something else. I just believed in it. And I just kept doing it. And literally one opportunity went into another opportunity. And it's amazing how I'm here in Brooklyn, New York now. I'm a Jersey boy. And the funny thing is, for a while, I was commuting from Brooklyn to Jersey to do ministry. And then an opportunity found its way because of a blizzard. I walked into a certain church and met a certain priest who found out what I did and said, wait a minute, we need something like that here. And here I am now, 8 years later, still ministering for these churches.
If you don't believe in what you're praying for, guaranteed nothing's going to happen. Which I take it as, if you don't believe in this experience, what are you going to take out of it? You need to go home with the idea that, wow, this experience just changed me. I believe like everything in this experience. I believe everything the Pope said, the Bishop said, the Cardinal said, everything that happened to me just changed my life, and I'm going to take it home and I'm going to do something about it.
So I want to say winter 2005, big blizzard. We just moved into a new neighborhood. We're sort of trying to find our place of worship, you know, so we're checking out different churches, like every good young Catholic does. And for the first time, I walked to a different church because it's closer. I mean, there were literally big mounds of snow. You had to climb over the curbs. My wife wasn't feeling well. And I walked to this church, St. Athanasius, by myself. And being it was a big blizzard the night before, of course, how many people are at church? Very few. So in walks Monsignor Casado, and literally, you know, as he's walking down the aisle, he realizes I'm a younger person, never seen me before, you know, says, hey, welcome, good to see you, which was a nice connection. and then proceeded up to church. But then after Mass, since he had made that gesture to me coming in, I walked to him and we started talking. So of course explained, just got married, moved into Brooklyn, trying to find our church. Today was a nice Mass, and he asked me what I did. He could sense that, hopefully some of my spirituality and some of my sense of, feeling at home in church, and that sort of opened up a door of conversation of the ministry. And he said, I've been in this parish now. I think he was there for 3 or 4 years at the time, and he had spoken of some things he had done in other churches, and he hoped maybe I could come and help them out, and maybe likewise I went there to share with them about ministry and how you could do it, on a comprehensive level, and that was sort of like the beginning door. Of course, after I presented, he said, "Hey, it was great what you said, and it sounds awesome, but we think you're the one who can do it." So maybe he goes, "I'll work on the other pastors to see if maybe," because he understood he himself financially, individually, probably couldn't offer me a full-time job at the time, but maybe could get other churches. So that's sort of where this whole cluster youth ministry thing began. The irony is, I think at that time, there was like 1 or 2 other cluster youth ministries in the country. There are a lot more now, not necessarily because they chose to do it. Now a lot more churches are clustering literally together around the country where they're the same parishes collectively. So sort of we started something new. But it was that day that really started here in Brooklyn, this ministry. And in many ways, likewise, I wasn't looking for a change, and I didn't go into it like, oh, maybe this will be a chance for me to not have to commute, through Staten Island every day. I was just sort of going with the Spirit, and likewise, how God works in life is amazing. And I mean, there's been tons of those experiences since I went to high school, of God just leading me, presenting people into my life, presenting opportunities. So it's fun to reflect back and think about where I've been, and there's only one explanation: God. There's no way there's any other possibility of why I'm here today doing what I'm doing besides God has led me here. And God continues to lead me.
We just experienced a Mass with the Pope, and his main message was it was a mix of make disciples of all nations, as well as just treating each other with respect, not getting caught up in material things, which is something he mentioned the other night when he came, which is very important in the modern world, because the world is becoming increasingly secular, increasingly material, and it's taking people's minds off of being civil with one another. People that consider themselves good people are beginning to teach their kids not to be good people in order to survive in this world in the way that it's becoming. But what they don't realize is by teaching their kids to act that way, they're only increasing it. It's only making the world worse.
I mean, over the years here in Brooklyn, for sure, there's been many kids that we've seen come and go, and we've seen some really grow and develop with us. From 7th, 8th graders, where now we have some of them in college, and it's been amazing to see where they've been and where they are now. I mean, some kids who have thought of killing themselves, who were bullied, who were, hiding in corners where you'd approach them and they were very, timid, now are some of our greatest leaders, feeling confident, feeling loved by God, loved in the community. I mean, I've seen other kids too, move in their spiritual journey, come in where they don't believe in God, to, actually getting some of their first sacraments. We have one kid who is not even Catholic, who's Muslim, who has been looking into the Catholic faith. And of course, we run this program not to convert. But of course, it is nice to hear then of young people who would come in here and say, wait a minute, there's something here. I want to receive my sacraments, or I want to even change my religion.
So he spoke about sort of just continuing and going out and making disciples. He wanted us really to continue with what we learned here, not keep it to ourselves and our prayers, but to share with everyone else. I think it meant a lot to me just to hear what he said and to kind of reflect on everything. We had the gorgeous background of the view. The sun came out, luckily we didn't have any more rain. And we were able to just reflect in such a wonderful, prayerful environment. 3 million strong saying the Our Father. It was amazing. So I'm so happy and blessed that I was able to attend this and experience everything.
We do have a couple young people who likewise, because of this experience now, are saying, hey, maybe I have a calling to become a priest or a nun. And I'll tell you, if one of them became a priest or nun or a religious brother, I mean, that would be one of the greatest blessings to come out of this ministry, to have some vocations. There are a lot of them too that they've found they feel a calling to work in the church. Some of them say, I want your job when I graduate, which is great. They want to work in the church. They want to be part of ministry and outreach. So, I mean, there's been so many wonderful stories. I mean, there are kids that, of course, disappear. We don't see them again. You wonder what happened to them. You hope the best. It's nice when a kid does come back and they sort of say, hey, everything's good. I remember, you did this for me, or I remember this retreat that helped me, find God. So we've had a lot of great stories. Of course, as we tell them, it's a lifelong journey. So even though where you're at today, it's not over. And hopefully I'll be here or someone will be here to keep accompanying them. We've recently started a young adult program because we've had a lot of these young kids who now have found their faith, have found a place in church, but need something now for being in college or post-college.
I wouldn't be talking in front of a camera doing some of the things I do here had it not been for Kenny and his programs. And we started with maybe me and one other kid helping out, and now we have 20 to 30 kids who come regularly and volunteer. So it's a pretty big deal what Kenny has done, and he's changed Brooklyn, especially our neighborhood. And so if you ever want to know, how has he changed, just meet one of the kids that come to his program, because they're the true reason to why he does things and the true proof of what he has done.
My name is Laura De Palma. I'm a member of the Mary Queen of Heaven Parish, which is located in Mill Basin in Brooklyn. And Kenny is also a member of Mary Queen of Heaven. And about a year ago, give or take a month, he gave a presentation on World Youth Day. And after Mass, he spoke to a bunch of the young people, including me, and asked if we'd be interested in going to Brazil with him. And it sounded like an incredible opportunity. I mean, you had the chance to meet people from around the world and to witness the Pope saying Mass and to have all these incredible opportunities that most of us jumped on it as soon as he asked.
So we've developed a program now where one of my lay leaders who has, likewise, some of my leaders have been tremendous. Some of our volunteers, which maybe you'll have a chance to talk to, where they've come from this program, sometimes is even greater than the young people. To see a young adult or older adult come in here, and from their volunteering and helping out, they themselves get helped out spiritually. We've had several people go into the Pastoral Institute in the diocese, and now that I'm talking, we have now Brother Ramon, who actually started volunteering here and just took his first vows as a Capuchin friar. So that's been the other blessing that has happened in this ministry, is some of the people that come to help wind up being helped themselves, and then they become a greater witness of faith because of this ministry.
I've been volunteering with the youth group for about 5 years now. My name is Kim Petrella, and I come here on Tuesday nights. Wednesday we meet for Soul Team. We take trips with the kids, we do retreats with the kids. Every Tuesday we meet together and we have a theme of the night, and it's related to scripture and prayer, and it gives the children an opportunity to feel Catholic with the youth. So it's great, it's a great program.
I think kids getting involved in a youth ministry program, they will find genuine friends for life, because there are a lot of similar kids to themselves, even though a lot of kids think they're alone or even maybe feel they're too cool for church. A youth ministry program attracts all types of kids But typically in this environment, I've seen them develop really true lasting friends that look out for the best of you. Not just to have fun, they have lots of fun, but look out for the best interest, and you can really find some great friends. Also too, I think you're gonna get exposed to so much more here in the church, which some people would say, oh, the church is more censored. I think no, you actually get exposed to a lot more regarding group discussions, the different trips and experiences we have than you would have if you just hung out on the street or you just went into the city. I think you have a lot more opportunities really in a youth ministry program to grow and develop mind, body, and spirit. I mean, we have kids right now playing Nerf gun wars, cooking nachos. I don't know where else you're doing that on a Tuesday night in Brooklyn, in the same roof. And then of course they're gonna be exposed then to a teaching and led by peers about modesty. And so they'll have a chance to think and hopefully grow spiritually and mentally. And ultimately, I don't know about them, but when I was younger, there was looking for meaning, looking for a greater sense of life, because unfortunately, sometimes just staying out of church, life could seem pretty bum, dark, bleak. And I think here they have a chance to have life make sense. They could discover, there's more to what meets the eye. And hopefully, develop into an adult that's put together better and stronger and, can stand on their own 2 feet and know they got a church with them, that they're not alone, regardless of what life throws at them. And they got a God that loves them. And hopefully that's some of the things that we do in the church and youth ministry.